Hey guys, it's Kamar here, and I made the absolute worst summoner build. So the other night I was sitting around and I just wanted to make something completely different than what everybody else is running. Right now the core for summoner is basically locked down into running your mine, running your detonate pet, and running Marin, the big tanky pet. You could also say that winged spirit or that seed plant is also kind of their core that they have to bring, but I've seen some people go without those. That core is basically what you have to run with Summoner. Earthquake as well, because Earthquake gives you super armor. And that brings me into a little bit of problem with Lost Ark PvP right now, and that's that hit stunning is so prevalent in the game. Hit stunning or flinching is when another player makes certain attacks, it'll do a little mini stun on your character. And the thing is, on a lot of the fighter classes and pretty much actually a lot of the classes have really fast hitting hit stuns, so that whenever you want to use a normal skill, if you have no protection, then you will get hit stunned immediately. So what that devolves the game into is you trying to bring as much protective skills as you can, as much fast hitting skills as you can. You have to bring your own quick hitting CCs or CCs that super armor you while you're using them, or skills that give you flinch resistance. And some of the classes like Summoner and Bard don't have as much protection against that. And so right now that's making it so that skill diversity and tripod diversity isn't really big in PvP, and there's really some core skills that you have to focus to. But in the face of that, I still wanted to try and make a different build. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at my absolutely terrible build that just blew up in my face. Alright, so let's get into the build. Let me talk this NPC and start up the Bifrost action. So what we're going to do is we're going to spawn a dummy. This dummy can be CC'd so we can demonstrate things. So first off, let's get to... I'm not actually on my build page, god dang it. So we'll just have to make it from scratch. I want to go from where the build was starting. So I had to take mine. I felt forced to take mine because I just don't think at this point in time that you can make a build without mine. You basically need mine to protect yourself from any melee die. So that's where it started, and then we had Ancient Spirit. At first, I tried to go without Ancient Spirit maxed out. That's where the build started. We went with Wide Radius Ancient Spirit. We kept plants, because plants are just so high value. They're really good. And I actually think I went with the AP one, but I'm not sure. We'll just keep it like this for now. I don't think I brought... No, I think I brought low grade horses. And the whole point of the build was I wanted to see if I could make something without Marin, without Detonate, and not even using Ancient Spear, which is one of the most hard-hitting summoner nukes. But it requires a lot of setup to do. And I was going to see if I could pull off something completely different. So I went with the Water Spirit, which overall seems like a pretty bad spell. I haven't put much value into it, and then I went with a pushback skill, and I rounded the build out with birds just for some extra hit stun. So we then put a bunch of points into this because what's interesting and what got me going with it, let's see, I'm trying to think. This is, you absolutely gotta have to go with a fast cast or else you're not even gonna get it off. So this one, what it does is it makes the last hit deal more damage and blows enemies away. So that increases the damage amount on the last hit. And then this skill right here, this tripod, makes the summon duration go up by 1 second, and it gradually increases the damage up to 50%. So it's like, well, maybe you could turn this into a hard-hitting nuke if you got it on a CC opponent. So that's where my head started going a little bit, and then I wanted to see maybe there's some stuff we're overlooking with some of the other skills. And so Release Will, or whatever the skill is called, is a bread and butter to a lot of builds. It's just a good pushback and distance creator, but the most I ever go into it is 7 points. But I just wanted to mess around with taking it 10 points in. And so this increases the distance that you knock people back, and then the distance it moves yourself back when you use it. This one makes it so that opponents are knocked down. This one increases the skill range by 25%. I'd rather go with the knockdown on it. And then the last one increases the mana consumption by 50%, but the damage goes up by 100%. I was like, holy crap. Maybe that could be just some extra damage on one of your higher up time utility skills. And then this skill just makes it so that it's cast around you in a 360, which is really valuable, makes it harder to miss, but at the same time it takes away the component of you like being able to make distance with yourself. And it also just doesn't seem like the value is high enough for me to go for a 10-point investment. But I started off with this, and so that's why I only went 7 points into my Wing Spirit. I went 10 points Earthquake because I really wanted the high value big radius increase. So at first I went Flame because it does more damage, but it knocks people up still. And this is why Earthquake is pretty, like, Earthquake is one of the core skills that you kind of have to have in almost every build because it gives you super armor while you're casting it. So it's a skill that you can put on yourself as protection or cast whenever you're about to be CC'd to protect yourself. And then there's the increased radius for 10 here. I think the last 4 points are going to go into Horse, and then we're just going to have points left over. And that's another problem right now. I still haven't finished farming out my skill points, so I can't fully round out my builds. So that's something I'm going to be working hard on this week, is getting all my skill points unlocked. Hopefully I can pull that off this week. And so then we just went 4 points into the Horse just to get the extra lightning damage on it. So here's how the build started out, because if you look at this, in PvP I had an offset in which I rolled the stats to be the subdue stat, which is this, which makes you do increased damage to CC targets. So my whole line of thinking was, I'm going to knock an opponent down, I'm going to force their rollout, which is basically like a trinket that's built into every character. When you get knocked down, you have the ability to roll out of the CC on knockdowns and knockups, but it goes on cooldown. And so if you can stack knockdowns, when they get back up, I could come and hit them with another knockdown, then they'll be locked in, and then I can nuke. So subdue makes you do more damage to CC targets, so I'd be dealing a lot of damage during that knockdown state. Force Wheel just wasn't worth the 10-point investment, because yeah, that's a lot of damage against the dummy. And here's the thing to really keep in account: damage against dummies is inflated. They don't have armor, they don't have resists, so it's not really an accurate measuring stick. And I knew that, but I still thought, hey, you know, maybe it'll hit for like 1k to 1.5k in PvP white hits, and it still hit kind of hard, but it's just not worth that 10-point investment. So already I found myself respecking, and I just took this down to 7 points with my normal bread and butter in it, and I decided to make it more about Winged Spirit burst. And so I went 10 points Winged Spirit, and this is where the build is at, and I just don't think it's recoverable. So it's basically like this, you know, you knock down, you Earthquake and knock down again, then you can nuke. And of course you have your mind to protect you, you know, your normal stuff. You have your Horse to zone and try to get CCs off. You have your extra birds just for some hit stun at range. The knockbacks utility. So it even works like this. Like, let's spawn a new dummy and reset our cooldowns. It even works like this. Like, if they step on your mine, then you can actually, if they step on your mine, now they're CC, and I can get some nuking off. So that's where the build started. But then another thing that was noticed is, man, this just isn't very reliable. Melees can move around this so easily. If you try to get this off without a CC, because everything's not going to line up perfectly. Your CCs and your damage combos aren't always going to line up perfectly. So when you try to get this on someone coming in on you, it doesn't reliably hit. The cone's just too small. It doesn't cover enough of a radius. It's just not, I mean, it either needs to be, let's see, it either needs to be an increased cone, or it needs to be a little bit longer range baseline. And so I started running with this morph. And this morph makes it more of a zoning tool. It's less damage, but it can be an interesting zoning tool. It has a reduced cone, so the cone's smaller, but the range is crazy, and then that last hit knocks back. But still, it's still pretty avoidable. And so basically, that's the state of this build, and I don't think it's a very good build. I just wanted to make something completely different, and I didn't put a shit ton of thought into it, but this is where I started out at, and it really didn't work out well. I could pull it off a little bit in 3v3s, like team 3v3s, but in the 1v1s, I was just getting my ass handed to me. So I just want to do a little review of some of the gameplay that I had with the build. And even though I think that the build is pretty damn bad, I just want to see, like, is there some play that I could have done a lot better? Because not only was the build kind of bad, it just also didn't click in my mind, and the way I'm supposed to be layering skills and comboing things just didn't, it just really didn't flow with me. So there's probably a lot of play that I could have cleaned up, but I still think it was too much of an uphill battle to be worth running. So right now I'm running the Frost. I ended up switching to the Frost field because at some points while I was trying to adjust to this build, I was knocking people up in the beginning of the fight, which would allow the melee to roll out and then immediately swarm me. And so I'm just kind of left with nothing to deal with them. They use their rollout. I have my pushback, but sometimes that doesn't register versus when they use a super armor attack or with the lag. If they enter into a CC skill, theirs might hit you first and your pushback won't register. So I just ended up going with the Frost field because it's just a straight up freeze, a stun, so they can't roll out of that. But anyway, so here we go. We got the mine. The Arcana super armor is over the mine. I'm pinging my pushback. I miss it, so I wasn't in range for the pushback. I should have been a little bit closer. Pushback. Knock her down with the horse. Now she uses her rollout. And see, had I had the fire earthquake, her rollout would have already been burned. So that's a moment to where I could have been better off with the other morph. Now I'm just getting wrecked, getting destroyed. I just don't have the same tools at my disposal here. And now let's go into the next one. Let's see what this is. This one's a bard, and this makes me feel really bad. So I try to go with the pet at first. She super armors it, so the last tick didn't knock down. I'm trying to get my earthquake off as fast as possible so that I can super armor myself, but I'm getting CC'd. So I missed the frost field. I thankfully hit her with the horse, and I try to go with the hit stun. What really should have happened right here was instead, see, right when she used her get up, she just used her get up. I should have casted my pushback skill, and then she would have been knocked down. Then I could have nuked her with my water pet plus birds on top of that. So that was a missed opportunity. See, I push back. I have nothing there. I just throw out the foot stomp for 1.2k, but that was missed damage opportunity. Now she's using her zoning skills, and I'm having to dash away just to survive. And she caught me with what's kind of like her winged spirit, which hit stuns me. I just super armored, got a frost filled off, got the knockdown, and so I tried to winged spirit on top of that. The problem is she had already used her ultimate. So right here, as you can see, she's casting her ult right now. Super armoring, casting her ult. I dash out so I don't get damaged by that ult because it nukes like crazy, but it shields the shit out of her. So her shield just eats my full winged spirit combo right there. Now she's built up her heal so she can use her heal, get some sustain, and I'm in real trouble. I move back close to her to try to hit my birds when I really should have just been kiting for cooldowns. Like, I just really didn't want her to get as much value as she could off that hill, but that ended up punishing me instead because I walked right in line for her stun to hit. Boom. Now her knock up, and I'm dead. So what's this one? So this one's against a Hawkeye. I think this one's a little bit of a change of pace. I think we actually get a win. So there, right away, wasted cooldowns. Wasted cooldowns. So what we should be doing right here, see, I mean, yeah, I'm using it as a zoning tool, but I put it at this angle, maybe because I think he's going to try to enter from that angle, but right now he's just trying to pepper from range. So I should have put it at more, in a line more over him that kind of covers this a little bit too, so I could either force him in or out. Instead, I get no value out of the skill, and I'm stunned, I get sniped, or his charge up attack. I throw my knock up earthquake on nothing. Let's see. So he burns his dash. I guess it's not too bad. I throw horses afterwards, barely miss it. I step into his mine, so that's a mistake on my part. I try to, so this is really bad right here. I try to place my mine. See, I place my mine immediately to trap his movement. So I want to trap his movement from this side, basically forcing him this way, which is already kind of a mistake. But at the same time, even if I went with that route, what I should have done is dashed into this line so that he's forced to walk around to damage me. Then I have him zoned to where I can do birds or winged spirit or an ult onto him because I know which direction he's going to move. Instead, I dash away from my zoning tool. I dash away from it. Now he has a clear line to me. This is no threat to him. There's no value here. I get my birds out. He uses his mobility skill, makes him flinch resistant. Now he's super armored. He uses his claymore, gets a big charge up attack on me. Finally, I get a pushback. And here's okay, so let's see. Does he get out of that? Yeah, he rolls out. Okay, so that's not too bad what I was doing. I decide to ult because he comes in, which super armors me. Now he's knocked up. So I throw down the pet. That's actually one of the first good uses I've done of it. And then he has another rollout. So I follow it up with Earthquake, and then I Foot Stomp, and I charge up my ult's ability. So you have your ult pet that you summon, and then he has an ability that you can use where he, like, in a line or in front of him, casting at range, he'll do a little circular AoE. Like a ground target AoE. So it's really easy to miss it. You want to try to do it when your opponent's stationary or if they're locked in a CC, like right here. So he is knocked down. He's eating damage from the water pet. Then I cast the Earthquake. He gets knocked down. Foot Stomp, charge, dead. So we actually get a 1v1 win, but it was a struggle. It was a complete struggle. And this isn't even worth watching. This is just an utter stomp. Well, this guy just runs the clock out on me. And just forces me into bad positions. He's just running around in circles trying to force me into bad positions since I'm the one with low health. That is my really bad build that I ended up making. I'm probably going to still play around with it a little bit because it's 22k shillings to respec, and I've already respected once. I just want to see if I can make it work a little bit, but I'll be making a new build soon. I just really want to try to make something different than what everyone else is running right now. But that's basically the problem with Lost Ark PvP right now, is the current state of PvP. There's a lot of flinch mechanics, and the flinch mechanics hit so fast, register so quick, that they will keep you from casting normal skills. A lot of normal skills you can't use. You have to use skills that bring your own flinch resistance, your own super armors, skills that hit really fast so that you can hit them and lock them before they lock you. And so that hurts build viability, hurts tripod viability. So I'm really, really curious to see what's coming on the balance patch on December 12th. And hopefully they'll be hitting some of these hit locking mechanics so that we can see more builds open up. But anyways, guys, if y'all enjoyed the content, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep it coming. See y'all in the next one.